under Nero, informers had been people who sought out rich people and drew them to the attention of the emperor so that he could take, or the informer could take them to court. And if they were accused, probably falsely, and the accusation stood in court, both the informer made money from it and also the emperor, because a large part of their estate would then go to the emperor if they were convicted of a capital crime, rightly or wrongly. And Vespasian hates that, so he doesn't want to use Falco to do his work, but he's also struggling to establish a better Rome, and he needs somebody like Falco. So we have that tension between them. Falco also is a Republican, so he's not terribly keen on having an emperor, so it works two ways. But for me, it's a wonderful period because we have, and I am an ex-civil servant of course, we have the bureaucracy re-establishing the way things will run, and things are now going to be done on proper lines. We'll have a huge tax-grabbing system put in place to get the money for it, but Rome will be made to work properly. The trains, if there were trains, would run on time.
Would run on time, that classic, yes, of fascist Italy. But for people who don't know the period, what specific time are we talking here?
It's after the I, Claudius books. We've had Claudius Nero, who has really destroyed the empire. The mad emperors, Nero and Caligula before him, have just been too young to rule, probably, and brought up in mad families, so they don't know how to do it. And they have brought the empire to the brink of disintegration. There has been a terrible civil war, which for the Romans, who were very family orientated, to have father and son fighting one another and brother fighting one another, of course, was a terrible thing. The provinces have been in complete rebellion throughout Europe, and Vespasian comes in as a man people disapprove of somewhat because he's been middle class. His origins are middle class, but he's a very good general and he's a very good organizer. And it's AD 70 to AD almost 80, just before Vesuvius erupts. Vespasian had died just before.
So because he's so much older, at some point you're going to have to move to the next emperor if you're going to keep it all going,
yes, or write books that only take a week.
Well, Vespasian had sons, and there's some interesting stuff that happened. Yes. Plus, of course, you do have the whole Vesuvius thing that you will have to
I don't know what I'm going to do about Vesuvius.
Well, your current book, Saturnalia, is the 18th book in the series, and I brought a copy of both the British and the American because they get a different look.
They're very different, yes. Yeah. Over the years, I've had quite a range of jackets. Publishers don't like you to have the same one, even if you keep the same publisher. They like a fresh look every few years. And we all know, readers and I, that it's to try and persuade people to buy the same book twice over, but publishers say it's just to revive it. So we go with that. And I've had in England, I've had mosaics and I've had frescoes, and the English one, I'd like to perhaps talk a little bit about how the English one developed, because we knew they wanted to do yet another revamp of the jackets. And I asked readers on my website, which is a wonderful thing, what they would like. And they told me what they would like. And then I told Random House UK what we would like, and they have done it.
And that's the book here on the left.
Yes.
Just to differentiate.
So,
and what is it that they've done?
What they wanted, the arch, I thought of. I thought that would be a new system we could use, and all of the books are going to be done so there is some kind of framing device. It won't always be a Roman arch, but it'll be something like that. Readers didn't want, they really loathed what we used to have on the English ones, her new bestseller, because they thought it's a lie. How can they, with a new book, know it's going to be a bestseller? They believed publishers were cheating. In fact, they do know, because they have advance orders and they can see that it's going to be a bestseller. Right. But readers loathed it so much, we now say rather pathetically, the new Falco novel. But we like that more.
Well, understatement works.
Yes. They wanted something that was a scene from the novel. So we have people at a party. And I can tell you, it was quite difficult to do. We had a nice young man who looked up what Roman stuff was like, and he started off with a lot of posing like gods, and I had to say to him, no, that's not what we need here. This is a party in a very low class home where the children are misbehaving and possibly being sick on the dog who is stealing food from trays, and there are people who the owner of the house didn't want to invite who have come anyway, and it's lively. Let's say.
It is. Well, Saturnalia. What is Saturnalia?
Saturnalia is the Roman Christmas, but of course there is no Christmas in Roman times, or not in Rome anyway. It's the big December festival that goes back to the start of history, really, between harvest and seed sowing, when there wasn't much to do in agricultural communities, and the food had to be eaten because it would go rotten, especially animals had to be killed, for example, because they couldn't be kept. Certainly in northern climates, there was no fodder for them. And people, therefore, sat down, gathered together, and had a party which quite likely would get out of hand, and from that you get the idea of the Lord of Misrule. And in my book Saturnalia, there's a party on almost every page. They are all different in different ways. There's the one that the emperor gives for the people, which is very formal, and the food's all cold because there's too many people there, and everybody's jostling for a place, and they have the statue of Saturn which almost falls over. That was good fun to write. And then there's family parties, which Falco hates because he isn't terribly keen on most of his family. And the one that I really enjoyed the absolute most writing, which is a big set piece, is the Office Party from Hell. It's the Vigilese Saturnalia drinks party, to which I had alluded in previous books, but now I finally get to describe it in all its terrible majesty.
And the Vigilese are?
The Vigilese are the Roman police force. Every private detective has to have a friend in the real police, and Falco has had, right from book one, his friend Petronius.
Who is actually now sort of linked to his family after complicated romantic adventures.
That's the good thing about a series. You can make it a kind of soap opera. Petronius is almost his brother-in-law. Well, I suppose he is his brother-in-law now. But he was set up as the person, the old mate from his army days, which they always are, aren't they? Who can find out things officially where the private eye can't do it. And to begin with, I knew there was a kind of Roman police force, but it took me about 5 books to learn that they were in fact the fire brigade. They were set up by Augustus because the danger in Rome, houses crammed close together, and originally they were wooden. Open fires, lamps.
Sure. Well, think of the Great Fire of London. I mean,
yes,
it's certainly
exactly.
not without precedent.
No, indeed, that started in a baker's shop. So the Vigilese were set up to fight fires, to stop the city burning down, and the most dangerous time was at night, when people would leave their lights burning, as they do now, have a drink, go to sleep, candle falls over, or oil lamp falls over. So the Vigilese were set up and they patrolled the streets. In the dark, they kept running into burglars and muggers, so they obtained the role of being the kind of police force that we know. And they're very useful to me. I write about them sometimes. I write books which are kind of Ed McBain precinct stories, and we have the Vigilese in their patrol house.
Absolutely. There are police procedurals. I mean, you really have had a lot of fun. You've done suspense, you've done serial killer, you've done police procedural, you've done it all. You've done foreign adventure.
Yes.
We've had the
being
animal.
a spy.
Yeah, we've had the loss of the lion. And in fact, and was it 2 for the Lions? But no, it wasn't. Which is the book where the lion was the first to die?
That is 2 for the Lions.
It is 2 for the Lions, okay.
And I had a lot of fun with that. The lion is a civil servant because he's a lion who kills people in the arena. I liked that, of course.
That's really very good.
And he's killed, and then we have lots of jokes like looking for paw prints. And Falco says, this one will really make you groan. What did he eat last? Who did he eat last?